The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. My name's Rhiannon Chamberlain. I'm speaking on behalf of ACTS today. Welcome to the Top Tips for Success webinar for the 2014 Green Gown Awards. I'll be handing over to Sue Hopkins in just a minute, who'll be taking you through the webinar this afternoon. But before we get started, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the GoToWebinar control panel, just so that you're aware how to interact throughout this session. So as you can see, you've got a couple of options for interacting here. There's a chat bar available within the control panel tool. I wouldn't recommend using it just because it can be quite distracting to the flow of the webinar. There is an opportunity for you to ask questions through the question panel. So if there is something that a question you'd like to type in, we'll take opportunities throughout the webinar to answer those as possible. There's also, if you have microphone capability, you can answer the question yourself. We can unmute you so that you can do that. In order to get our attention, you just raise the hand. There's a little button there, a little hand button that you can press. And when there's an opportunity to, I'll let Sue know that there's someone waiting to ask a question. Now, you can do that throughout the webinar, throughout the course of it, but there'll also be a section at the end for sort of Q&A if you just want to hold off until we do it right at the end there. If there are any technical issues throughout the webinar, you can contact me directly. That's probably the only way I'd use the chat bar, really. But otherwise, I'll be handing over to Sue, and she'll be taking you through the webinar. So I hope you all enjoy.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, which is the Top Tips for Success for the Green Gown Awards Australasia. My name's Sue Hopkins and I'm the manager of the awards. So we'll get straight into it because I appreciate that everyone's time is precious. But thank you everybody for attending the webinar today. We do appreciate it. Okay, so the first slide. So why are we all here today? Well, hopefully to help you get recognised for all your fantastic sustainability initiatives. We know that there are plenty out there in the sector, and the awards are a wonderful way for you to gain the recognition for yourself and your team for all your hard work. So whether you have an initiative that is large or small, these sustainability initiatives are a fantastic way to be recognised. So the awards allow you to share your achievements with the sector and hopefully motivate others in their journey. Now, I'm going to run through the awards in detail, or the award details, and then the presentation is broken into two sections. Firstly, the top tips, and then secondly, what the judges want to see. So how potentially your project will fit with the category criteria. And this is a question I get asked quite a lot. Does my project fit within the criteria? So, as Rhiannon said, there will be a chance to ask questions in more detail at the end, but please do ask a question at any time if you'd like. Also, much of the information that we're going to go through might actually seem very obvious, and it is, but sometimes we don't always think about these things when completing applications. So we just wanted to share these tips with you to make sure you have the best chance of success in impressing those judges. So firstly, we've tried to make entering the Green Gown Awards as simple and easy as possible. So there is, we hope, no complicated process. We hope it's all pretty straightforward. When thinking about reading your entry form, remember that this is your opportunity to get recognised, and judges are going to be reading a large number of entries, so yours does need to stand out. It is essential that you provide the judges with all the information they need. So basically, there is a definite art to creating a successful award submission, so hopefully that's what we're going to be talking about today. So the award details. So the deadline for submissions is in a few weeks' time. It's at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, the 5th of August. There are 3 new categories for 2014. Best Newcomer. This is for those people essentially at the start of their sustainability journey. But basically the stipulation is that you cannot have actually taken part in the awards process before, basically cannot have been a finalist. So you may have entered a submission before, that's fine. As long as you weren't a finalist, then you're eligible to enter the best newcomer. And hopefully it'll encourage lots of people who haven't actually entered the awards before. The best newcomer, also there is no stipulation whatsoever on size or type of institution, so anybody can enter that category. Facilities and services, that's our other new category, and that's about how we can enhance our sustainability credentials on campus and how that can then lead to an enhanced learning and working experience for both staff and students. And this can cover all areas of campus life. And then finally, the ACTS Award of Excellence, we have a new student category this year. After piloting this award last year, it was felt that a separate staff and student category was needed. So now we're looking to recognise all the inspiring and hard work that our students are undertaking. As you'll notice, if you've looked at the awards before, the smaller institutions category is no longer available. The best newcomer category has basically taken its place and will recognise much of the same initiatives. However, like I said before, there's no restriction on size or type of institution. The student engagement category has just changed its name, and the criteria basically remains the same. And we just really want to encourage everybody this year with the ACTS Award of Excellence to get nominating. It's really a fantastic opportunity to recognise and reward others for all the excellent work they're doing. So we really hope that people will nominate colleagues, students, or your institution. Okay, so top tip number 1, be in it to win it. This may seem really obvious, but the Green Gown Awards are a great way to raise your personal profile and showcase your institution's sustainability agenda. It also allows you to recognise your team's efforts, engaging both your staff and students or whoever's been involved in the project, and gaining that hopefully much wanted and needed public recognition from your senior management, from your peers, and as well as the rest of the sector, both within Australasia and internationally. So, and hopefully lots of positive marketing afterwards should you be successful. So hopefully lots of really good reasons to get involved. As a result, if you're going to put in all that effort to put in an application, we want to make sure that your application does not let you down. So if you have a worthwhile initiative, it's fantastic if your application can do the justice that you need. So on that note, don't be afraid to ask for help. If a colleague or someone else in your institution has had experience of submitting an application, then go and pick their brains. Ask your peers for guidance. They will often always have some very handy hints on the application process itself, especially as obviously they've been through it. And they can be a mentor to you to guide you through the process. However, having said that, we're also here to help, very much so. So if you're not sure if your application is eligible or if it fits the criteria, then we're very happy to help. Even if the question seems really small, it doesn't matter. We will always answer that question for you. So we also have a very comprehensive list of FAQs on our website, and the guidance notes for participants has been put together in a way that hopefully will give you all the information that you need. But if you don't, if there's a question you have, then please do just give us a call or drop us an email. So preparation, time management. Taking the time to plan your application or your submission will pay off. It plays a part in everything we do in our lives, and it's really crucial here. Ensure you plan ahead and allow yourself plenty of time to consider and develop your entry. Leaving things that require thought to the last minute obviously is never a good idea, so we do recommend that preparation is key. One of probably the biggest tips that I can actually give you is to ensure that you thoroughly read the award criteria and ensure that your application fits. The guidance notes for participants, as I say, is an essential document, and it's highly recommended that you read that. That also gives you the conditions of entry, so you'll know what the conditions are. So we'd advise to set clear objectives from the start. Now, as I said before, top tip, if you feel your project doesn't fit the question being asked, then it probably will not be successful. It happens in all areas, from submitting an award, answering an exam question, applying for a job. People try and give you the information they want you to hear, not necessarily the information you're asking for. So if on careful examination of the criteria you think your application doesn't quite fit the criteria, then it probably doesn't. Don't try shoehorning your application into a category if it only partially fits. It probably will just be a wasted effort. So for example, The continuous improvement institutional change category requests that projects have been running for a minimum of 2 years. This is a very specific criteria, and thus if your initiatives haven't been running for that length of time, then it's best not to apply this time, but to leave it until they have been running for 2 years, and then obviously they'll have a much greater chance of success. Also, the carbon reduction category specifically states that precursor activities such as footprinting or setting of targets is ineligible. So again, within this category, obviously don't include this sort of information because obviously it's not relevant. This particular category wants significant evidence of developments achieved. And remember, an application can only win once, so you want to give yourself the best chance of actually winning. On that note, you can submit more than one application. If you have different initiatives, then please do submit them to different categories. That's fantastic. However, if you feel you have the same initiative that fits more than one criteria and that it's eligible under both categories, then that's great. You need to submit 2 separate applications though. We don't have the facility that one application fits all. So if you do have an initiative that you feel is appropriate into more than one category, that's great. We just need separate applications. So just make sure that you tweak your application to make sure it fits the criteria that we're asking for. And don't leave submitting your application online to the last minute. This is a big issue for us. IT and internet issues often occur and can leave people panicking. So the submission process often takes longer than you think, and a submission cannot be saved partway through. The system can often be heavily overloaded in the last few hours before the deadline, and technical issues have in the past, and obviously with I've worked on other schemes in the past, can sometimes cause the system to crash. So ideally we'd like you to submit your application a few days or even the day before, which is fantastic, or in the morning. The deadline's not till 4 p.m. so, but we would try and advise not submitting it at 5 to 4. That would be great. So all the category criteria can be found on that link there on the slide on the screen, and a copy of this presentation will be sent to you directly after this webinar, so you'll have a copy of all those. So top tip number 3, think about your audience. This is actually really important, and you really need to consider who will be reading your entry. The judging panel is made up of a cross-section of tertiary education representatives and industry experts. So imagine you're one of those judges. What would you actually like to see? So it might seem obvious, and it's a really small point, but the first thing is always make sure that you have a really catchy title. It's highly worth it. These applications always stand out, and when judges are thinking back over applications at the assessment time, when they're having their meetings, these are often the ones that will stick in their minds and be favoured. So, and also for promotional activities, if you're a finalist or a winner, those titles will be used in the winner's brochure, case studies, the videos, etc. So again, these are the ones that will often be stick in people's minds. Also, make sure your answers are clear, concise, and structured. The best applications are those that deliver the information in a structured way and provide evidence to back it up. Judges love reading figures and statistics and innovative statements, so such as, this is the first of its kind, or this is the only one in New South Wales, etc. Judges have a lot of applications to read, and if you include this type of innovative statements and evidence, again, it will be really highly favoured because it will stick out and it will allow judges to go back and pinpoint specific things within your application as they're having their sort of deliberations. So, as I said, make sure your application fit the criteria, and the judges broadly are very much looking for sort of 5 key elements within an application. The sustainability benefits. So the nature and size of both sustainability and non-sustainability benefits. So if it's an awareness campaign, how big was it? How many people did it reach? That sort of thing. Expenditure, the relationship between benefits and costs. So was it a good value for money? Could it easily be replicated elsewhere? Significance to the sector. Is it the first of its kind? Is it relevant within and outside the sector? Does it have unusual features? Does it stand out from the crowd, etc.? Evidence. Quality and reliability of evidence supporting the claims made. As I said, statistics are extremely favoured by judges, and any hard evidence, any data to back up claims. This allows them not only to stand out, but it also allows them to compare applications, and obviously it shows evidence of claims. And then lastly, supporting evidence. You can include links to webinar, sort of web pages, flyers, graphs, photos, all that sort of stuff, which will make your claims easier to substantiate. However, please do ensure that this evidence is for support only. Don't let it take the place of necessary information. Judges do not have to look at this information, so it is really there to back up the claims you've made. Make sure you don't miss anything integral out of your application if it's in a link, because like I say, the judges do not have to look at them. And lastly, one of the biggest things that the judge is looking for is scale of impact. The greater the reach, the greater the breadth of the application, often the better it does. Judges like to reward those that can either replicate their initiatives or that they're highly versatile for dissemination and for the greater learning. So if you've got an initiative that you think would be great for replication, then that will be highly favoured. And lastly, ensure your application stays within the word count and definitely the page limit. If it goes over the page limit, there is a criteria in place this year that it will not be eligible if it goes over the stated, I think it's 6-page page limit. And lastly, do your research, learn from others. Take a look at previous winners and highly commended entries. We've got a selection of case studies from all the way back to 2011 for both Australasia and the UK, and these can be a really highly useful set of resources, not just for completing your application, but for just resources in general. If there's any kind of initiative that you're thinking of undertaking, probably somebody's already done it before, and there'll be a case study or there'll be a video on that application, so it's always good to have a look at that if for whatever you're up to. Keep it simple. So as I said before, this kind of relates to what I've just been talking about. Focus on what the judges are actually asking for in the category criteria, and make sure you answer the questions that are asked for. Read the questions carefully, make sure you answer them. This is a really, really big tip. Make sure it is kept clear, concise, and simple. Do not give loads and loads of information that is not relevant just because you think it might be. The judges have a lot of applications to go through and they want the information to jump out at them. As I said before, give lots of examples and evidence. Don't speculate. Only basically give evidence or talk about the things you've done. Like I said, people want to see the things that have actually taken place. Use headings, use bullet points, use short paragraphs. Make sure it looks good and it flows. Again, it might seem obvious, but a really well-structured, nice-looking application, again, it's going to stick in the judges' minds, it's going to flow, and the judges are more likely to retain that information. Like I said, judges have a lot of applications to read, and those that are good-looking will stand out in their minds. And as I said before, stick to the word and page limits, and don't assume the judges are going to look at any links within your application. Chances are they will, so it's fantastic if you include them, but make sure they're not integral to your application. Okay, so the last tip, be clear about your achievements. Shout loud and clear. Don't be a wallflower at this stage. This is not the time to be modest about your achievements. Make sure your entry highlights the things you have achieved. As was clear in the last slide, don't hide your achievements and unnecessary information either. Make sure that the necessary information is clear and it stands out. If you have to bold it, underline it, put it in a heading, whatever it may be, just make sure it visually stands out. As I said before, back up your claims with evidence. Judges are looking for things such as proof of innovation, positive impact on stakeholders, return on investment, strategic success, whether it's outperforming the sector, customer focus, leadership, and social responsibility. So all of those things, those areas, are the things that judges are going to be looking for evidence on. So if you can provide evidence on those things, then that's going to be fantastic. And like I said, use real figures which you can substantiate. Statistical evidence is one of the most important factors in all successful award submissions. Oh, and lastly, learn from the experience. If you don't win at the first attempt, then please learn from the process and try again. Margins on winning applications are often very narrow. Judging can be tight between 2 or 3 applications when it comes down to it. So often, if you haven't won, it's definitely worth applying again, because you could have been one of those ones that was just on the cusp. Judges do give feedback. So if you are unsuccessful, please do listen to what the judges have said. They spend a lot of time deliberating on that feedback to give you the best possible chance at improving your application for next time round. So please do use that advice and reapply. And obviously, we are here to help. As I said before, it may seem obvious, but we are here to help. We know the scheme inside and out and back to front. So if I'm reading the FAQs and that sort of stuff, you're not sure about a few things, then please do not be afraid to drop us an email or give us a call. Any question is really not too small at all. One thing as well that is new for this year is we have a new support element from ACTS called the Activator Forums, which are going to be available from ACTS for all sorts of different topics, but there's going to be a specific forum that's going to be open for the Green Gown Awards. And what we're hoping to do is to really generate some interactive discussion on the awards and, like I say, other relevant topics. So at the end of this webinar, I will send you a link to the webinars, and we really hope, to the Activator Forum, and we really hope that it's a function and a support mechanism that you'll be happy to get involved in and that you'll find extremely useful. So the next part of the webinar is really about what the judge is looking for. So we're really looking at the category criteria and drilling down into what we're looking for. Okay, one of the biggest things that I get asked all the time is, does my project fit the criteria? And without knowing your projects in detail, it's often difficult to say, especially about the full application in front of me. However, often I find that your gut instinct will really tell you if it's relevant. So if you can answer yes to all or most of the criteria, then yes, I suspect it fits. However, if you can't, then it probably doesn't. And as I said before, no amount of shoehorning it in will make it successful, because the judges are obviously going to be looking to see if your project fits that criteria. And like I said, it's going to be obvious to the judges from the start, especially when comparing them to other projects. So it's not to say that your project potentially won't be eligible in the future. It just may mean there are certain elements that are missing at this stage, and it might be worth just holding off for a year or two. Having said that, there might be other initiatives that, on reading the criteria, you thought, oh, actually, I hadn't thought of that initiative, and the original thought you had, you may think of something else. So basically, I've just highlighted some of the key areas for each category that basically really we'd like to address if you're going to be successful. So category number 1, the best newcomer. This is, as I said, new for 2014, and essentially it replaces the smaller institutions category, but now there's no restriction on the size of an institution or the type. The main eligibility criteria for this one is that the institution cannot have been a finalist in any previous award scheme. So you may well have entered previously, but provided you have not got to the stage of being a finalist, then you are eligible to be submitted for this one. And obviously, if an institution hasn't submitted at all, then this is obviously a perfect category. Now, it is aiming to recognise those institutions at the start of their sustainability journey, those that potentially have limited resources or possibly are new to sustainability. Any topic is eligible, but it needs to show the achievements have been successful in a relatively short period of time or on a restricted budget, so maybe quick wins. And really, we're looking for applications as well that do have commitment from senior management and do go beyond legal compliance. So, you know, more than just business as usual. Or if it is business as usual, make sure you can state why that's the case, or why that's a good example. So I don't have an example for this particular category because obviously it's new. So okay. Category number 2, carbon reduction. So this category is about recognising the significant reduction in the carbon footprint of an institution. Now, it can be for a whole host of activities, waste, transport, energy efficiency. Any topic is eligible, obviously, provided it demonstrates a reduction in the carbon footprint. Now, the top tip for this particular category is that applications must provide quantitative evidence on the nature of the improvements made. Figures in this category are really important. This is where the judges are really going to be looking for that, for that quantitative data and that evidence. So we really need to provide evidence of overall tons of carbon dioxide saved, and include carbon savings relative to the output or activity. So it could be carbon output relative to students or staff members, or a dollar figure, obviously. So the other big thing in this category is that no precursor activities such as footprint or the setting of targets are eligible. So please don't include any of those. As I said, it is very much about providing the quantitative data to back up the evidence that you've made, back up the claims that you've made. So our best practice case study for this time is last year's winner, Deakin University. They actually submitted a sustainable transport application. And the reason that their application was successful is that they demonstrated really well, they evidenced very well their savings and CO2 metrics. They were able to relate a lot of their initiative back to how that actually saved carbon, which is obviously extremely important in a carbon reduction category. So, like I said, it very clearly stated how they reduced their carbon and by how much they reduced, as well as giving the benefits of the initiative and the impact for not only the campus that they were specifically talking about, but the actual overall institution as well.
Just a quick question on this one, Sue, that it hasn't come through on this webinar, but it came through on our email. We had a standardised calculation for determining CO2 emissions in institutions. So maybe it might be good just to explain that it's not based on a calculation, but just on providing evidence.
Absolutely. So as we said, we have had a good point, Marie, actually. I have had a couple of people in the past ask if there's a standardised metrics, or is a standardised way of calculating the CO2, or if we use a standardised method. We don't. Obviously, every institution is different and will obviously calculate their carbon slightly differently depending on what is set in place for their institution, or if they're involved in any other sort of carbon reduction schemes or metrics. So there is no one size fits all. You can provide whatever evidence you like, provided it is evidence to back up those claims. So, and as long as it's quantitative data, we do not mind the metrics whatsoever, as long as there are metrics of some kind. So please feel free to provide the metrics that you wish or that you're currently working on. I hope that's helped. Okay, so the continuous improvement institutional change category. This category is one of our oldest categories, and it's very much looking at the sustained and successful activities on a holistic level over a number of years. So again, this category, we're really looking for people to show evidence, again evidence, on the nature of the improvements made, and you need to provide tangible evidence of high-level commitment. Because it's continuous improvement over an institutional level, we are looking for that senior management buy-in and their support. So again, ensure you have quantitative data to support your claims, and again, that can be metrics as well as evidence of, say, number of people attended events or whatever it may be, or people undertaken training, etc. So to be successful, an institution needs to be distinctive compared to its peers. It needs to have undertaken multiple activities at an institutional level, and that is the key driver for this particular category. We're looking at multiple activities. An institution cannot address just one area of sustainability or campus. It needs to address multiple sustainability initiatives across the campus. So we need to look at examples covering, say, how are you addressing sustainability in the curriculum, how are you looking at sustainability within your operations, how are your student groups, or how are you interacting with the community on sustainability, so looking at behaviour change. You're looking at strategic planning and management planning. How has it been embedded, or do you have a strategic plan embedding sustainability into your strategic plan? And also research. Obviously, research is a big part of our campuses. So is sustainability within our research? So again, you really need to address more. You need to address essentially all those criteria, and certainly more than one. We have had a number of applications in the past that submit an application and they're just looking at their operational side of things, and that's fantastic, looking at your operations, but this category needs more than that. It needs to look at not only your operations but also, like I say, your strategy, your social responsibility, and your curriculum as well. Also, to be eligible, the initiatives need to be running for at least 2 years. So if they haven't, they won't be considered. So make sure a lot of the initiatives you're doing, like I say, it's just to show sustained activities over a number of levels, a number of years. So best practice case study here was last year's winner, Surf Coast TAFE. And the reason they won was that, like I said, they addressed multiple areas through the application. They looked at not only through a strategic level, but they looked at curriculum, campus, and community. And like I said, it was all then brought back under their strategic plan, which was fantastic to see. Facilities and services. This is new for 2014 as well. This recognises both the facility and service excellence across an institution, and how sustainability aspects can be embedded throughout and within both functions. So applications need to show sustainability benefits that are above and beyond normal practice or legislation. We're looking for things that go above and beyond what institutions are obliged to do. So judges will be looking for initiatives that have win-win benefits for both sustainability and performance. So we're looking at things that, if you increase the sustainability performance of something, will then have a knock-on benefit for, say, enhancing the student experience, improving flexibility provision, things like that. So applications which reflect new approaches, innovation, efficiency, student engagement, they're going to be the ones that are successful. And again, with everything, we need to include quantitative data. So they also need to demonstrate the link between the operational improvement and the enhanced social benefit as a result. So again, applications can address a whole host of areas. There is a list within the criteria. It can be anything from looking at your ICT, looking at your catering, looking at your laboratories, libraries, biodiversity on campus, procurement, shops, sports facilities, student residences, transport. Honestly, the opportunities are endless on this one. However, like I said, the key element on this is it is not enough to address just one aspect of your of sustainability. So, I mean, tell us about the fantastic library facilities you put in, for example, but you must link that back to how that has actually helped improve the sustainability performance, or the enhanced learning performance of, say, students or staff or that sort of thing. So there must be that link. So because obviously this is new for us, I have actually taken a case study from last year's winner in the UK. And their winning application was, and I guess that's why I just said about library, but they basically improved their library facilities, which resulted in an enhanced student experience for all their students. So that is actually a fantastic example to go and have a look at. I was fascinated by how, like I say, there was a double improvement. So you can increase sustainability of the actual facility, and that actually has a direct knock-on impact then for obviously our social sustainability and learning. Okay, category number 5, learning and teaching. Okay, this is actually the category that probably causes the most confusion. And this is because it's so closely linked with the skills for sustainability category. We have quite a few initiatives sometimes that have to be moved between categories. But with learning and teaching and research being our core business, it's vital that we identify and award in both categories. So even that can be a bit confusing, there is actually a very distinct difference between the two categories. So the key criteria for this category is that it's focusing on initiatives that are focused on formal curriculum-based learning. So this can be via embedding sustainability into existing courses, such as non-traditional courses relating to sustainability, such as accounting, business, architecture, fashion, that sort of thing. Looking at new courses focused on sustainability, so it could be like a foundation course across all disciplines, or it could be a new climate change degree, etc. Or you could be looking at the practical activities within a course, so including work-based learning assessment modules, such as within a fashion course maybe, such as a fashion degree. You could be looking at sourcing ethical materials or upcycling of old fabrics, etc. Or, for example, you could be looking at demonstrating energy efficiency within an accounting course to show how this can save money. So the thing to look at is to look at how your initiative connects with the Education for Sustainability principles. And these can be found on the Learn and Teach and Sustainability website, and that is linked in through our criteria. So it's really important to perhaps go and have a look at those. So as I said before, the key here is really about making sure that your application is focused on formal curriculum-based learning. The winner of this category last year, Griffith University, they won for their Griffith MBA. And basically that looked at embedding sustainability within an existing non-traditional course. And the reason why it won was because the potential was so wide-reaching, because it had the potential to impact on so many people who then took their business degree or took their business skills into such a wide-ranging set of potential jobs in the future. And obviously that could have direct impacts on significant strategic decisions in the future. So that was a fantastic initiative. So, not to get confused with Learn and Teaching, this is the Skills for Sustainability category. Like I said, they're both different, but they're both extremely relevant. Skills for Sustainability is focused much more on the informal, practical, skills-focused learning. Now, applications that show development of skills relative to sustainability, but are not necessarily central to the pursuit of academic qualifications. So obviously skills are still part of learning, and they're still part of the curriculum, they're still part of learning and teaching, but we're just looking at different ways that those skills are delivered, and obviously maybe the objectives of the course may be different. So we're looking at training for apprenticeships, continuing professional development, skills-focused courses leading to professional or vocational qualifications, short courses for practitioners, and obviously demonstrating of sustainability practices within the workplace. So as I said, really this particular category is very much focused on informal, often extracurricular, practical-based learning. Now, one of the key things that there's often, I think, a pre-misconception with these two courses is that people sometimes think that learning and teaching is for universities and skills for sustainability are for TAFE courses. That is not true. That is not correct at all. I think often there's a confusion with the terminology. Often you associate skills with TAFE, but like I said, I think there's some confusion there because that is not the way it is. If you're a TAFE or a university, you can apply for either and both. And we have had universities and TAFEs be successful in both categories. The main difference here is that, as I said before, you're looking at why you're undertaking your course and what the key objectives for your course or your learning are undertaken. Are you upskilling the workforce? Are you delivering a specific degree or training course? So, like I said, there is no distinction on the type of institution that can apply for these. So all institutions can apply for either category. So hopefully that won't, that'll be a bit less confusing for you now. We had to move 3 applications last year between the different categories due to the slight confusion. So I would just say that please do read the criteria carefully. The judges only have a limited time, so they may not be able to focus the time to assess and move your application properly, which would leave your specific initiative at a disadvantage. So please do have a look at that category criteria if you're thinking of submitting under one of these 2 categories. And like I say, if you're unsure at all, please do drop us a line and we'll hopefully be able to help you with that. So the winner of the 2013 Skills for Sustainability was TAFE New South Wales, and their course was about the practical upskilling of early childhood practitioners. And they basically took childcare workers and took them out into the bush and taught them about nature, to then basically go back and inspire their children. The idea behind it is that children, if taught about nature at a young age, will develop a passion for it, and therefore they'll be more likely to protect it and work with it in the future. So that was a very, very good initiative. Category number 7, social responsibility. There's a bit less ambiguity on this one, it's a bit more obvious, but this recognises initiatives which create significant benefits for local communities, disadvantaged groups, or society as a whole within either Australasia or developing countries. So this one's not just confined to Australasia, but can have international links. So initiatives can focus on specific initiatives, but also includes institutions working in multi-partner activities, and those are highly favoured, such as community development or urban regeneration. Judges will also be looking for scale of impact with this one on a big scale, so it's fantastic if you can demonstrate that. Judges will also be looking for projects that can demonstrate proactive community and social concern, and those that take it a step further outside of the institutional remit rather than just business as usual. This is quite significant for this particular category. Judges are looking for that step further and really looking at that proactive, like I say, community and social concern. So last year's winner, TAFE New South Wales Western Sydney Institute, their project, I've got to say, was excellent. Because it was multifaceted, they had significant collaboration with industry and community groups, which obviously gave the project a significant scale of impact. But they also worked with such a vast number of individuals from a number of different backgrounds, and sustainability was embedded holistically into all areas of the initiative. So not just looking at the social aspects of it, but when basically they set up a farm and all the sustainability, the operations of the project, the materials, the facilities, they were all sustainability related as well. So basically they looked at both physical and social sustainability, which was excellent. So I think this is the last but one category. So category 8, student engagement. Student engagement has basically just changed its name for this year. It has not changed its criteria in any way. The significant element here is that we encourage applications that are run by students for students. So basically your application has to demonstrate a significant student-led element. All initiatives are eligible, such as raising awareness, behaviour change, and what our students do best, basically inspiring and championing. Based on that, though, the application must demonstrate the partnership between staff and students, so basically the top-down method and the grassroots, as often these go hand in hand. So even though the application must be very, very significantly student-led, we do still want to see where the link between staff and students has come in line too. Student bodies are also very welcome, so basically applications are welcome from institutions and student groups as well. There's often a lot going on campus, so it could be looking at things like awareness raising and communication, procurement actions, volunteering, social media, community initiatives, or sustainability reporting and websites. So there's a whole host of things that people can submit for. So last year's winner, the University of Wollongong, their Ilara Flame Sustainable House. The reason why this won is that it had a significant student focus and a real strong student leadership. There was a strong partnership between staff and students, and the scale of the project was phenomenal. Basically, it was taken out internationally, and their project competed with other students from all over the world. So the scale of impact was great. Okay, lastly, the ACTS Award of Excellence. Now, technically not a Green Gown Award, but we include it within the hub of the Green Gown Awards. But these awards are basically looking to recognise and reward others. The main eligibility point here is that nominees must be an ACTS member to be nominated and to vote. And like I said, we're really looking at the awards that recognise the sustainability achievements of others. So anybody who has been working hard to achieve change towards sustainability at any level. It's not just senior level, it's at any level. So have a think about what your institution's doing, or do you know a really passionate individual that has inspired change or championed the cause, and think about nominating them. Like the previous categories, applications addressing multiple initiatives, and this is specifically for the institutional one, applications addressing multiple initiatives that can demonstrate over and above business as usual practices will be more successful. So these applications are done in a different way. You submit an application, judges come on board to shortlist, but then it's open to a vote from other ACTS members. Now, slightly differently to the institutional award, individuals cannot nominate themselves. So, whereas as an institution you could easily nominate yourself as an institution, here you cannot nominate yourself as an individual. So try and get somebody else to nominate you, or obviously go and nominate somebody else, so that'd be great. As I said, entries will be shortlisted via these criteria, and then finalists will be subjected to a member vote. There are strict criteria on this one, so that voting is, so there's no unfair advantage. This is probably the most underrepresented category at this stage, but it's a really significant category. It's really about recognising people that are championing really hard, and it can be such an uplifting, rewarding award that we really do encourage you to think about who is slowly working away in the background, or somebody could be championing really hard for something, both staff, students and yourselves as an institution. So we really encourage you to please nominate. As well as that, even if you don't nominate, we really, really, really do want you to vote. The more people that vote, the more people the more people get involved, and get involved and have their say. We can make sure that the best person wins, or the best institution wins, if you like. Okay then, just to summarise, these I feel are the most important points. So the first one is address the criteria. If you don't think your project fits, then it probably doesn't. And that's really important. It's not to say that it's not going to be relevant next year or the year after. It's just that if it really doesn't fit the criteria this year, think about perhaps holding it off to next year. Having said that, if you really think it's with a good chance, then please, please, please do submit. Don't let me put you off submitting. But anyway, keep it clear, concise and simple. Do not give lots of information that is not relevant. That's the key thing here as well, is that make sure you read the question and provide really what the judges are looking for. They don't really want to have to go sifting through information to find the key points. They want those key points to really jump out at them. So give lots of evidence and examples, and also don't speculate. Make sure you only cover things that you've done. As I said before, please provide lots of good examples. You can include links in the body of the text, but don't overwhelm the judges either. Make sure you stay within the page limits. And like I said, make sure that those links are there to provide evidence to back up claims. Don't assume, or don't make them integral to your application. That information needs to be in your application, and this just needs to be something that a judge can go and have a look at and go, oh yeah, they talked about that. E-newsletter. Now I can see it, and it looks great. Or they mentioned this event, and give a link to the event or the number of people, etc. So make sure though that the information is integral in the application form. Make sure you have a catchy title. As I said before, this will stand out, and it's also good for you for your media promotion if you win. Make sure again that it's clear, concise, and well structured. A good example of a good application is the 2012 winner for the Students' Initiative category. That was University of Technology Sydney and their Bluebird Brekkie Bar. Their application was clear, concise, and well structured, as I've said. They also provided structured headings in each question section and made sure they directly answered the questions. They also provided evidence and reliable data and statistics. It also had quite a quirky title, so it stood out. It addressed the criteria. It was run by students for students. It was innovative, yet it was highly replicable, and it had the potential to have high impact, and its scope was really good. The only downside is that the students didn't really elaborate on how they used their captive audience when they were having their breakfast to raise awareness of other sustainability issues and campaigns. So that was the one feedback that the judges went back to say. But like I said, the application was really well presented. And very lastly, make sure that you impress the judges. Give them what they want. As I've said, and I hope this has come out as a theme throughout the talk, is that judges really are looking for applications that have the biggest reach and scope. They really want to see those that demonstrate scale of impact. The bigger the impact, often those that can be easily replicated, so therefore there's a greater chance of sharing and dissemination potential. Obviously, unless it's truly innovative, and then obviously the replicability is a bit reduced, but they are really looking for those that we can help disseminate within the sector. Give clear quantitative evidence, use relevant metrics. So, for example, tons of CO2 saved for the carbon reduction category, for example, or the amount of money saved based on CO2 reduction, etc., that sort of thing. There's an emphasis on innovation and those initiatives that have gone over and above industry norms. This, again, is a clear message through all the category criteria. The judges are really looking for things that are basically above and beyond business as usual. So those institutions that have basically gone out on a limb and done things differently, or maybe just gone bigger than what they're supposed to do. They've just taken it on a bigger scale. If you have a great initiative, then make sure you tell everyone about it. So make sure that you look at the engagement of staff and students and community, and let us know about the scale of impact is very important as well. So let us know how you've communicated your initiative, what the scale of dissemination is, and how you've engaged your staff and students. Okay, that is basically it. So we're at that stage now where basically we're asking for any questions. So thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
If anybody does have a question, you can just press the little hand button in the control panel for GoToWebinar, or you can type it into the question bar. At the moment, it doesn't look like we've got anybody who has a question. We'll just give it a minute.
Okay. Well, that's fine. If you obviously think of a question, if you basically think of a question after the webinar, please just, like I say, drop us an email, give us a phone call, whatever. But if nobody else has got a question, then thank you ever so much for listening. A recording of the webinar will be made online. So if anybody that you know that wanted to listen to the webinar was not able to today, then hopefully you can direct them to that link. I'll also be sending a copy of the presentation to you, which will have all the links that I referred to today. Again, remember, if you have any questions, please just ask. And lastly, please do provide us some feedback, whether you thought the webinar was useful or not. That's fine. We always want to make sure that we know how to focus our resources. So any feedback for us helps us not only to better our activities to yourselves, but also helps us direct our resources in the right way. So please do provide us with any feedback if you have it. We'd be very grateful.
Now we did, Nicole, you just had your hand raised for a minute there. I'll just unmute you and see if you did have a question for Sue. So, hello, Nicole.
I think you've answered our question. We were just going to check if we could get the PowerPoint, but you already, after we had our hand raised, you already mentioned that you would send it through. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Nicole. In fact, I'll send it through you, hopefully get it in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. So hopefully the presentation will give you a summary of everything that I've talked about today and give you access to all those links as well. So, yeah.
I think that was it on the questions, Sue. No one else has got their hands raised.
No problem. Well, again, thank you ever so much for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. We really hope you've got some fantastic initiatives out there that you want to share with us for this year's awards. Any questions, like I say, please do just ask. Otherwise, good luck. And hopefully we'll see you guys in Hobart in November. Thanks. And have a good day, everybody. We'll end the webinar now.